What do you make of the move for Toronto?
Well, I mean, if this was it, if this is how we had to view it, like this is a period onto the Leafs work this summer, then you would be not very impressed. However, the clearing of the cap space sets in motion opportunity that wasn't there yesterday. Kapanen's deletion from the roster opens up a spot for someone else to move in. The first-round pick was needed. It can't just be about today. It's got to be about, everybody's trying to do two things at the same time: stay relevant for as long as you can and be as good as you can today. From Toronto's standpoint, I'm surprised they got a first-round pick. I think it's a really terrific thing for them because I'm certain this is not even close to the end for them. 2 years ago, Kapanen and Johnsson were these luxury players that making about $900,000, scored 20 goals. Then they became necessities, and what I saw is they're probably, as a necessity player at over $3 million, I don't know if that's what they are. And so we'll see what Kapanen does in Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby's made people look a lot better than they might be elsewhere, but I don't see Kapanen as the top six guy. I just never have. I see him as fast and he can shoot. I think sometimes he goes right by his opportunity because his feet go faster than he reads the game, but we'll see. I mean, it's pretty clear Pittsburgh was going to make some change too.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. I would think that both these teams are going to fight it out for the headlines over the next 2 or 3 months. And I agree with your assessment of Kapanen. I mean, he's the perfect example of a guy that always leaves you wanting more. Yeah. He's got the tools. He's got the speed. He's got a bit of bite when he wants to. He can score some goals, like breakaway goals and beautiful goals he scored throughout his career here. But he's wildly inconsistent. Far too many players kind of die on his stick. And we'll see what he brings with Pitt, but I think the Leafs they're not going to lose sleep over losing Kapanen. I don't picture in a year us feeling in Toronto or throughout the media or throughout the country, whatever, feeling about Kapanen the way we feel about maybe Kadri today, where that Kadri deal was much more complicated. Kadri's come back to bite them based on the way he's played. Kerfoot and Barrie didn't pull their weight. I don't see Kapanen in a situation like that next year. I could be wrong if he rides shotgun with Sid and scores 30, but that seems far-fetched at this point.
But Brian, we don't even know the return yet for Kapanen because that's going to also include somebody else. We just don't know who that is.
Right, with the room.
But that right wing spot is going to be filled by somebody. Mm-hmm. So if that somebody gets 15 goals, then have you lost anything? Maybe 5 or 6 goals, maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's a good point.
That's all part of it, right?
Yeah, you look at the difference of what you believe he brings and the new player. So if you believe Kapanen's 20 and his replacement gets 15 or 17, but and he's making $950, then you've got it is a win.
Plus the 15th pick overall.
Plus the 50,
and Hollander maybe.
But there's no guarantee, and that's where I think we have to wait on this. There's no guarantee that his replacement's going to make $950. There's no guarantee that he's going to get 15 to 20 goals like that. There's a bunch of what-ifs, and there's no guarantee that 15th overall spot is going to be Barzal.
It's not a guarantee to get a great player.
There's also one other non-guarantee, and that's that Kapanen's going to get 20 goals.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Like what if Kapanen's a 16-goal scorer that goes super-duper fast and gets 16 goals? I mean, it's possible. Mm-hmm. I don't see him as a 25 to 30-goal guy, even though if you individually picked his assets, his size, his shot, his speed, I would say, yeah, all that kind of adds up to a guy that could score 25 to 30 goals. I just, it's hard to score, and I just don't see him as that on a regular basis.
Ray, how close do you think, or how much clearing of this canvas do you think continues, or is this just one or two pieces?
I think there's more. I think there's lots more because So now we've deleted Kapanen. You're going to take CC and Barry at the minimum off the back end. You got to add Barabanov, who I think is a pretty good player. I've seen him at a couple of World Championships. I think he's pretty good. The fourth line center spot, I don't know who that's going to be. Where does Nick Robertson fit into this? Do they move Johnson? Is Freddie Anderson in play? I mean, I'm reading all that stuff too, and I think without touching the biggest names on the roster, there's still going to be some movement that's going to open up a very different Leaf team on opening night, whatever that is.
Yeah, and what has not been addressed with this move is the defense core, and we all know that has to be changed. Like it has got to be upgraded.
But they're now at $7 million, right? About $7.6 million.
That's right.
You know?
And they got some room, and Dubas is speaking right now, and I guess he just said, Mike Zeisberger tweeting out, quote, "If there was another Jake Muzzin out there, we'd be interested, to put it mildly," end quote. So, he's showing his hand, which is not something this Leaf organization generally does, but I think it's so abundantly clear. There's no point in hiding it. Like, they know what they need. They need some size. They need some reliability. They need some consistency. They need a guy who's tough to play against. That's what they're looking for. And if they can find a couple of them, they'll find them. And if they can find a couple of them in the bottom six, I think that would be ideal as well. That's the checklist. We all know what it is. It's not talent.
Well, I mean,
they don't need that.
They'd love to have, right? I mean, if you could pick one priority, it would be somebody to play with Morgan Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's your number one hole on your team. Can you find that player? Who knows, right? Everybody will look at Pietrangelo and say he's the guy, but if it doesn't work, then what else do you have? Well, there's probably a bunch of scenarios around the league that people don't think about, or we don't know about, or there's trade talks that will happen or may have happened already that we just don't know. And we'll find out those in probably pretty short order.
What do you view Chris Tanev as, Ray?
It's impossible not to like him. He's a top four guy. I think he's helped by Quinn Hughes every bit as much as Quinn Hughes has helped him. Tanev is more involved in the play than he's ever been. And I think that has to do with Hughes and the way that they move. He moves him the puck, and he's got some space, and he can, he can get into the play a little bit. He's not going to score much. He's an excellent penalty killer. He's tough in the sense that he blocks shots by the ton. However, this year was the first year in a long time that he's been healthy.
Yeah,
he is. I mean, this poor guy has got an injury list as long as your arm. And I would be nervous about that, in that you sign a player and you end up with him for 55 games.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern with Chris Tanev, because I think he's a good player, and I think he would 100% help Toronto's defense.
Well, when Hayes just said that Zeiss tweeted out, like, the Jake Muzzin type, like that's, Tanev, different players, but that's what I think of. Like, Tanev's a warrior, but it comes with a price, right? Some physical injuries, because he puts himself in harm's way, blocks shots, like he's not shy to, that's the mid-level, I guess. I don't know if that's a win, but it's the mid-level solution, if you're asking me. Because
I guess, Noodles, it would depend on what it costs, right?
Right. That's what he makes, 4 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah. So you don't want to go and blow the budget on a guy that's going to get you 25 points either.
Right. Yeah.
And so, does that mean that maybe they look in another way? Like, there's all kinds of teams that are going to be in positions that have to move players that they didn't have to, or didn't think they were going to move prior to when the season stopped. And maybe guys are going to shake loose that would never have in another season or another year. And they're now with $7 million in cap space that they can easily find a way to push higher by moving some people or dropping some guys to the American League. You can get that over 10 or 12 million probably pretty easy. I think they can probably do that, and that opens up a whole bevy of guys that you might not otherwise think of.